What's poppin', y'all? This woman just cooked one of the least talented members of, or the least talented member of the NELK boys, this guy Steiny, and it was all his fault. So he starts it off and says, I got mad love for Nina Drama, but getting pissed at a guy who asks you on a date at a press conference when your content is going on a date pretty much with every fighter in the UFC was lame AF. Made the guy look bad for no reason. Now, what this guy's referring to is this interaction that happened in the promotion for what I'm assuming was some sort of wrestling event. It's like called RAF between Arman Sarukian, who's a fighter who's done content, but he's a fighter for the UFC as well, who's done content with Nina Drama, who's this journalist for the UFC. And this interaction was happening while they were talking trash.
So what's going on with my 10K that we shake the hand?
You give me a date with your girlfriend Nina and I'll give you 10K.
What you said? My girlfriend. Guys, never ask about family. Everybody don't ask about family, moms, sisters with me, okay? And girls too. If someone gonna talk about that, you're gonna be dead. And don't care this is RAF, USA or UFC belt. If you're gonna touch my family, you're gonna be dead, okay? And you too. Shut your mouth. And be respectful for the girls, okay?
All right, Mike.
You can talk about me, but not about my friends and everybody.
Oh, that wasn't a joke.
Yeah, that was the interaction. And Arman, he is a guy that's married, as well as Nina Drama, who's in a long-term relationship. I don't know if she's married, has a fiance, but she's with this guy. I think he's the guy that holds the camera for her too, that helped her get into this. And she approached the guy who said that, like talking about like asking her on a date, and person.
I gotta say something. What was that? What was that?
We're gonna have some one-on-ones with people outside this door.
Respectfully. It was disrespectful.
What part?
The part where you mentioned me up there. It's disrespectful.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to offend you.
No, because you were nice in the lobby, and I took a picture. And I was trying to be really respectful, but I didn't like that.
Sorry.
I didn't like it.
I apologize.
Whatever. It's fine.
So she goes up, she presses him, and then the guy apologizes. Obviously, the guy's just trying to promote a fight. But when you start to look into this a little bit deeper, Nina really did not mess with this at all. And she replies to Steiny and says, Steiny, for years, you've been asking me to come on your pod. I've said no to you, so you asked John to ask me. I said, nah. You asked Arman's team, because Arman, he did a podcast with Steiny earlier this year. I said, nah. You are a terrible content creator. Tell me about it. That guy stinks. But we are fair here. So we will get on Steiny's side a little bit, just a moment. You don't research your guests. You ride the coattails of Kyle, Bradley, Steve will do it, Bob Menery, actual talented content creators. Without attractive girls on your pod, nobody would watch. You are an entitled kid with no interviewing skills, facts, and you're bitter I said no to you so many times. Work on your craft and do better. Lastly, there's a difference between being in on the bit and being used for the bit. I'm not going to let someone use me for a bit for their own promo. Well, I think that guy should have just stood on it. He's like, yeah, I'm going to use you for a bit. It is what it is. But you wouldn't know the difference because all you do is use people and expect them to be okay with it. Get effed and stay out my DMs. So she cooks this dude. He replied, even his mans, Bradley Martin, says this clapback was personal. Dude's laughing at him. And he says, I started that tweet with showing love. And that wasn't even a shot, but clearly you're affected. Would love to see what you'd be doing without the UFC giving you every collab and collab post. Best of luck to you. This is a good point that this guy makes too, because let's be real here. The majority, how much of Nina Drama's content would be viewed if she was the only one in it? That's the thing. Like, she's talking about, oh, this guy needs girls or people aren't going to watch him. True. Nobody's watching Steiny. Nobody's watching this guy. Nobody wants to hear an opinion from him. Nobody wants to hear a joke from him. His ability to get guests, which is directly tied to NELK, is the only reason anybody knows who he is, pays attention to him. He's dull. He's smarmy. He's a weasel. He just sucks. Beyond all that, the guy stinks. Even if he was a nice guy, he just sucks. Some people don't got it, no matter how long they do it either. Do I think Nina is a more talented content creator and for sure interviewer than Steiny? 100%. Sure. Absolutely. However, the majority of her content is and will only be viewed when she's with these famous UFC fighters, and the UFC constantly promoting her, putting her as damn near their cover girl. Like, people would rather listen to an Ariel Helwani, and you could say part of this is the culture, maybe, of people are more likely to listen to a male like sports commentator than a woman, even if the woman is very, very knowledgeable. That's a possibility too. But the thing, like, Steiny doesn't really have that either, because like he's a guy and he's not doing sports or anything. He's just doing regular content. So I don't think she can attack him from that angle, because the majority of her content is with famous dudes, and people didn't know her on her own before she was collaborating in content with these guys. It's not like she was just like, for example, let's take MMA Guru. Before that guy ever was collaborating with fighters, which most of them hate him, he was talking about the entire thing on his own with no connections. Similar thing with an Academics, right? Before an Academics was ever interviewing a rapper, he was doing it on his own, and he built an audience like that. How big was Nina Drama's audience before they were putting her with UFC fighters? I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me. But Sneeko calls this guy.
I saw that.
Yeah, she's saying that you only have viewers because you have attractive girls in your pod. When we did a pod, there was just me and you. There were no girls.
Yo, I'm gonna just say something quick. You keep up. I haven't had like that kind of podcast in probably a year and a half, and it's probably been the biggest my pod's ever been. So that's crazy for her to say. One, two, she's kind of contradicting herself, because her views all come from being collabing with the biggest fighters in the world. So there's a little irony in that, right? So I don't really know what her point was with that. But listen, bro, I didn't even mean to strike a nerve, but like when. It just didn't make sense to me when you're saying like, hey, to that guy, right? That guy didn't even say anything. He's like, yo, if I win, can I take Nina on a date? Like, he's just around.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to promote the fight.
So the whole thing that I meant to say is like, yo, I thought it was a little weird to just go up to that guy and call him out, and then she obviously, I guess I struck a nerve or some shit.
So here he makes the same point that I did, which is a good point. However, we do got to check him on the whole, my podcast hasn't been like that for a year and a half and it's doing better than ever. Well, let me show you a screenshot of the old numbers of his podcast when there were chicks that were just, I guess, like eye candy for the podcast, what those numbers were hitting like, and what the numbers are hitting like right now. And I do believe his numbers are real. Now, if you want to go to the Full Send podcast and question those numbers, you would be right in doing that. But also, these numbers aren't bad. They're not too far off. So the drop off was not big enough to just say that, oh, Steiny needs to have girls on his podcast for it to do well. No, the reason why Steiny's podcast does so well is because this guy can get huge guests that are going viral very fast. So whenever something's going on, he gets that person on when it's going on and gets it out quickly. So it's the talk of the town. Like Charleston White and Selena Powell, like that was, and Drewski. Like he didn't get Drewski on, but the topic being Drewski, that was done very timely.
I have no problem with her, but I don't think she would have done that if Armand didn't react the way he did. So Armand immediately was like, if you say something like this, you will be dead. And I'm like, okay, well.
Well, dude, yeah. But Armand's on a merit. He's foreign. So, like, to them, that's a little different. I think they think differently. So maybe he didn't find the humor in it. But then also, like, then it makes you think, like, is he defending his girl? Because, like, he posts a story and it says on a date and it's a picture of them two. So I don't even get it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, her response too is like, okay.
Her response was just like, yo, dude, if you're really like, listen, if you're really going to go that personal and like really attack somebody, like, I'm trying to be retired with this shit when I'm 38. You feel me? I'm not going to be if I was, even for me, it seems immature to act like that. And I'm 30. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know.
Bro, she called you a little kid, man.
I didn't see that.
It was in the thing. She said you're like a little entitled kid.
I don't know. And then also, like, dude, you see my reels and my skits. Like, I work hard as on those, and they do really well. So I don't know why people won't just give me my flowers when I work hard. I work hard, bro.
Yeah, I think that she's capitalizing on the negative perception that some people have of you on Twitter.
Yes, absolutely. Of course.
Yeah.
I thought I'd have a little bit more of the boys slide for me, but
Steiny is right here in that he thinks she reacted that way because of Armand's reaction. But you look at this other clip, and when he's talking about like, oh, she puts this thing about like on a date, that was like a promotion that you could say was a bit. Well, there was this other clip where Nina was streaming and they're not even in public, and he makes kind of like a joke like that he would consider disrespectful.
What happened here? What's this?
Yesterday night.
Oh, stupid. Okay.
You have a big nails.
Oh, God. You're so lucky we're not live.
So here, he's making this joke knowing that she's in a relationship, and this isn't like public cameras going on or anything like that. Like, yeah, there's the stream, but you can even hear her say, oh, you're so lucky we're not live. So even then, aren't you supposed to not go for somebody? So I think that's just very hypocritical from Armand, but maybe for him, he's just looking at it like, yo, this is a public platform here. I thought we were behind the scenes. There, you got to present things in, two different contexts. But when Steiny's talking about, yo, I work hard, listen, he may very well work hard. Like I said, he gets these guests very fast, records a podcast very fast when something booming is going on, and then he gets it out. That is not easy. It looks easy, but it's not, especially getting people to show up at all. But that doesn't change the fact that he sucks. It's like, yeah, there are college level basketball players that work really hard. They work a lot harder than some other players, and they just suck. Like, obviously, if they're playing collegiately, they're good, but they just suck. They'll never be good. They're not as good as any of the Division I players. They're not making it into March Madness or whatever. And hell no, they're not even going to the G League or the NBA. So with the Steiny, it's the same thing. Like, yeah, he works hard. Sure, I don't take that away from him. I give him credit for that. But it doesn't change the fact that he sucks. He's unfunny. He's not entertaining. And he does these like weaselly things that people just find abrasive. Like, for example, when he had Dean the Great on his podcast, and he's talking about like, yo, we'll set you up to fight this guy, like trying to make fun of him, and Dean the Great's like, nah, how about we throw hands right now? And he was trying to set up his other guest into fighting Dean the Great. So here you're trying to like set up this weird moment, and then you get pressed about it, and suddenly you're silent. Like, come on now, we're not playing about that. So I do think this was an easy dunk for this chick. It's a good thing she took it. Clearly, she didn't want to hop on his podcast for some reason. I don't know what the issues between them are. I would like to know that. But yeah, it's funny. Isn't this guy's whole shtick getting bullied anyway? Like, when has anybody ever said like, yo, Steiny's really cool, I want to be like that guy. Yo, I really respect what he said here. Like, yo, he went crazy on this one. And those words have never been uttered by anybody, no matter how hard he works. So I think this is good for him. As long as Steiny's name is out there and he's at that tail end of a joke, I guess that's as best as you can expect. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see y'all in the next one.